Hello everyone and welcome to Walford Weekly, your weekly EastEnders podcast, where this week we'll be discussing the episodes released on the BBC in the UK from Monday the 3rd to Friday the 7th of January 2022. It's a brand new year and a brand new Rob. Hello Rob, how are you?
Hello Alex, hello everybody, how are we this week? How are you, Alexander? Well?
I'm very well, thank you. I'm
Excellent.
Fit and fighting and ready to chat about EastEnders, lots to talk about.
Yes.
Have you had a nice week?
I have had a nice week. Listeners, I am off for 2 weeks. And that will affect something, which we will explain at the end of the show. So stay tuned for a little bit of podcast news at the right at the end. But this week, Alex, we are back at the 30 minutes again, which I think is shown. I think it's shown on screen. Scene quality has ticked up a little bit. So we've got quite a lot to discuss this week. Yes, we've got quite a lot to discuss this week. So let's crack the hell on with it, shall we?
Oh, why not indeed? Okay, so we're going to start off then with Mick's story, because obviously it's the continuation of the demise of Linda, I suppose, last week. Mick has had a few words with Ollie, but also this week in the Vic, Shirley has invited Tom to come live with them for a little bit, because Tom has basically been completely thrown out of Sonia's house and verbally chastised in the street by Kathy and Peter. So, first of all, then the scene between Ollie and Mick, I thought that was a nice scene when he got down on the ground, spoke to Ollie, and kind of explained what was happening between him and Mummy.
Yeah, it was really, really sweet. I love the little kid that plays Ollie. He's adorable. You know, you've got Raymond that you adore, and Raymond is cute, but for me it's Ollie. Ollie's adorable. He's such a cute little kid. I just want to play with him, and I want to play with his little trucks with him and everything. He's so cute. Yes. So, yeah, the big thing with the Carters this week, really, is the fact that Mick is, again, Mick's stressed. He's always stressed these days, bless him. It's no wonder the poor guy suffers from an anxiety, really, is it?
He's never far from a brown paper bag to breathe in and out of.
No, bless him. Don't do that, listeners. It's bad, apparently. The latest research into panic attacks. Apparently, you're not supposed to do that because something about carbon dioxide. I don't know. Apparently, not supposed to do that. I don't know anybody.
Oh, is that from the anti-mask brigade?
No, I don't think. No, it was before COVID came along.
No. Oh, no, okay, fine. Because that's their reason, wasn't it? Don't wear a mask because you're breathing in CO2 and you're going to die. It's like, okay, fine.
No, I don't think so. Anyway, you're going to die. Yeah. So, so the big thing this week was, like you say, Rocky kind of trying to move into the, because we've sort of revisited the relationship between Tom and Shirley this week. Now, I have to say, I think these two actually work really well together. I like these two, and I'm pleased that they've sort of revisited it, because him and Kathy was a nice thing, but it did sort of feel like one of those relationships that was sort of there until the big reveal comes out. It didn't feel like Rocky and Kathy were there forever. Whereas with Shirley, I can sort of see them together for quite a long time if Rocky stays around, because Rocky's kind of like it's just kind of like the Shirley goes for, really, isn't it? A bit of a bad boy, a bit of a sort of ducking and diving person. Think of the likes of Phil, Kevin. You know, she likes those sorts of blokes, doesn't she? Buster. She likes a ducker and a diver. I mean, all that's really missing is the fact that he needs to shave his head, and then Shirley is. He's got Shirley for life then, because Shirley likes a bold bad boy. I mean, do you think there's potential with Shirley and Rocky moving forward?
Yeah, there was a nice spark between them, wasn't there? Like you, I never really thought about Shirley and Rocky or Tom, other than that one time when Shirley got stood up by him a few months back, when he was really kind of chasing Kathy. And I think you're right. I don't think it quite works with Tom and Kathy. Whether that is the ultimate goal, I'm not sure. But with Shirley, there seems to be something. There seems to be a connection between them. With Kathy and Tom, there doesn't seem to be a commonality between them. While with Shirley and Tom, there does. So actually, and it'd be nice. It's nice that we're seeing more Shirley, and if it introduces Shirley more into the front line a bit more, then I'd welcome that too. Because I love Linda Henry, I really do, and I think she's a great actress.
Yeah,
and I like it when she's doing things which isn't screaming at Sharon. Not that I hate that either. Like a few years back when you heard the sound effects of them screaming at each other upstairs while Mick and Linda were trying to have a conversation downstairs, I thought that was perfect.
Happy days.
But the old times. But we're seeing Shirley kind of like having this more dramatic side and kind of all opening up as well, because she seems to be someone that can be opened up to. But then I don't think Mick's very happy that she's kind of invited Tom to stay there without his permission. But then I forget that Shirley also owns half the pub, doesn't she? She owns half the pub with Mick.
She does. So really,
Mick
Mick can't complain, really.
No.
Considering especially that he had Janine staying in the pub when everybody else in the pub was like, "Don't be ridiculous." So I think he's owed. I think Shirley's owed one, really. I think it's going to be quite nice, and I think that Rocky feels the same way about Shirley. I think they can see kind of common points in each other. I'm interested to see where this is going to go. Rocky, like you said earlier, had a bit of a confrontation with Peter earlier. He could not have looked less intimidated if he tried. Kind of stood there, like, "All right, I get it. You're Kathy's grandson. Of course you're annoyed. I'll let you think you've got this, right? Yeah, sure, yeah." And then Shirley literally walked away and told him to go away and called him something like streaky, thin piece. It was perfect. Shirley basically just
run
walked
a bean.
on.
I think
Run a bean. Yeah, we'll say. I know what I would have said, but streaky run a bean. That'll do. Yeah. And then Peter kind of just went off with his tail, which was like, "Yeah, well, yeah, So yeah, that was nice.
I mean, Peter went off and had his own little day, didn't he? In the end, but we'll get to that a little bit later on.
Get to that.
Yes, the rebirth of a story that we thought we'd forgotten about, but we hadn't.
I never forgot about that day. Do you want to see how well I use it? Yeah, I've never forgotten about that. Carry on.
To be fair. Tom wasn't the only one looking for somewhere to stay this week, because also this week Mitch was trying to find a sofa to hop on and sleep on.
Yes.
Because they were all trying to cheer Bailey up. Bailey was feeling a bit down, feeling a bit miserable, needed something to help her along. And it was the first of 3 characters that we saw come back this week, and that was Banjo. Banjo the dog. Banjo the dog returned. Not with his owner, which I was a bit disappointed about, because it would have been nice to see Molly.
Molly. Or Elsa, because whenever she walked on, it snowed. I seem to remember. Yes. I know. I appreciate they were probably all her scenes were probably filmed on the same day, but she kind of walked out like Elsa. I'm not entirely sure what Mitch said or did to get hold of the dog again. Because if you remember the last time that this dog was left in Bailey's care, she ran off with it. So I'm not entirely sure how much money Mitch had to hand over. Like, I promise this won't happen again. Molly has agreed to kind of hand over Banjo the dog for a few days to kind of cheer Bailey up. But it appears that Banjo and Mitch aren't getting on, because Mitch seems to be thinking that Banjo is growling at him and barking at him and trying to own the sofa, which he's now claimed as his own. Think about Mitch, right?
Banjo is my spirit dog.
I don't know, right? Well, you'd growl and bark and bite Mitch, wouldn't you? Because you're a fan. The thing about Mitch, why haven't they just put him and Karen together? Because they work quite well together. They seem to be. I can't see him. I kind of if I look at couples on the square, I always think Mitch and Karen. And they're not actually together. And it seems like and Mitch lives there, when he's not being bitten by dogs and stuff. He lives there normally, doesn't he? So I don't understand why they haven't just sort of completed that and just got them back together again, because they work fine together, and they basically talk to each other like they're a couple anyway. But it's all but in name, isn't it?
I wonder if they've not done that because they made such a point when Mitch was first introduced to say that Karen had been cheated by Mitch and that Mitch left her abandoned to look after all the children. And it's almost like it would be not in Karen's character. Maybe it's that rare moment where they thought, actually, that's not Karen's character. So let's not have them get back together in a relationship. Yeah, I know. But as a friendship, that's nice. And I think, especially for Bailey, it's kind of strengthened her a little bit, because obviously where her mother died and Mitch had abandoned them as well, she needs that kind of stability. And with Banjo now in her life, it kind of makes it, even more. Banjo is an icon. I have to say, I love Banjo. Every time he comes on screen, it's
Banjo's amazing
for me. But he's just adorable.
Banjo's great. He's got such personality, hasn't he, for a little dog? I love him. Like, he's just I love him. He's great. Yes, I don't know, but I just feel like they should just get. There's some relationships on the square where you see like the two people are friends, a bit like when before Cat and Phil got together, and you're sort of like, oh, they work really well together. I like this sort of friendship thing, but I bet they're going to get together and it'll ruin it. But in all honesty, I wouldn't feel like that with Karen and Mitch. It just sort of feels like it's the natural way for them to go, and I'm almost almost kind of like, oh, just do it. All right, just get on with it. Because they had that little kiss, didn't they? I think the last thing that they did, like, intimately together, was have that little kiss when Chantel died. And was it Gray walked in on them and saw them kissing? I think it was Gray, wasn't it?
Oh, and judged them for it. And so that again kind of took away any kind of authauthority they could have over Gray. So, so it gave Gray a kind of get out of jail free card there.
Go away, Gray.
That's spun up a little bit more as well. Again, we'll be talking about that a little bit later on as well. But, I mean, I stand Billy and Karen. I really liked Billy and Karen, and I was really sad to see them kind of being split up. I really did. I liked them a lot, especially when, was it Billy whacked Phil got whacked around the back of the head and then fell behind the sofa and then sneaked away when Billy and Karen weren't listening. I mean, that
Never
made that
again.
Relationship for me. That was the moment. Never mentioned again. But yeah, that's what put them together for me.
Yes. So Mitch effectively is sofa surfing this week. He tries to, I quite like this scene. He went up to Mick and was like, it's been ages since me and you have spent some proper lad time together. I've got some beers. Let's just get drunk till I fall asleep on your couch and there's no point in me going home. Let's just do that. And then when Mick says, look, my house is full. I can't like disturb Ollie any more than he already is. And he's like, right, okay, I understand. Billy! How long has it been? How long has it been since I've slept on your sofa? So, I don't think we kind of really got as to what Billy's answer was with that, but I'm assuming he's now going to stay. Although, where's Billy living at the minute?
Is he living with Honey and Jay? I think he must be, unless he's sleeping in the car lot. Is that where Mitch is going to end up being, in the car lot?
The car lot. It's Mitch homeless storyline coming. I don't know. I don't know where people live these days. There's the chopping and changing, honestly. I think he's still living with Honey and Jay, which is the most ridiculous arrangement. Living with his ex-wife and the guy that
the man he hates,
Billy in it. Yeah, of course he is. That's Billy all over, isn't it? Never mind. So yeah, I liked Mitch this week. I hope that basically my thing with this week is I hope that him and Karen eventually get together. Maybe it would be nice to address some of Mitch's past, address some of their old relationship things, because I think we've seen this week that they're not afraid occasionally to delve into the past and actually sort of explain a few things and talk about a few things. So I'd like to see that.
Give that a go. Hey. We mentioned Gray earlier, and again a little story then with Gray and Chelsea. The baby is okay. The baby is fine for now.
Of course he is.
So Chelsea and Gray have a bit of a respite. I mean, the NHS Trust in Walford is a miracle worker. Like, you can have a bleed in the brain and you're out the next day. It's shocking.
Honestly, if you have an emergency in EastEnders, you want to hope that you're ringing the hospital and not the police. Because the police, forget it. You're going to get murdered, or whoever has committed the crime is going to get away with it. However, if you need to go to hospital, you're fine. You could walk in there having been decapitated, and you'd be walking around fine the next week.
That's why there's no COVID. That's why there's no COVID in Walford, because they've cured it. It's that little bubble has been cured. Yeah, it's absolutely cured.
You can be born 24 weeks late, and you'll be crying away in a pram the following week. You'll be absolutely fine.
I don't know. But yes, so Gray has been manipulating Chelsea when they got back home again. He stopped Chelsea and Whitney's meeting in the Rubies in the club. So Chelsea had to quickly think on her feet and splash the water. I mean, I loved the way Whitney was like, "Why did you do that to me?" And like that. And then when she was at the door, was like, I thought that was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. I love that so much. Like acting within the acting. It's like, the meta-ness of it is just fantastic. Meta. Steve Jobs, it's not Steve Jobs, is it? But yeah. But no. And also he convinced Denise not to invite Chelsea to their dinner party. And so then Chelsea got jealous. And so he's now planted that seed to Chelsea into thinking that her family doesn't want her. I mean, Chelsea has been quite forthright in saying that she knows what Gray is up to.
This is what I mean.
Is Gray realising what he's doing what he's doing to her now?
Yeah, this is where I got a little bit confused. I mean, if I'm going to glean any sort of positiveness from this story, I'm going to try my best. All right, I hate everything about it. We all know that, but I'll try my best here. What I do, I quite like the sort of new dynamics of this. It's like obviously it's been presented initially as sort of Chantel and Gray Mark II. However, the difference this time is that Chantel is fully aware of what she's getting herself into.
Chelsea.
So that, Chelsea is fully aware of what she's getting herself into, which kind of puts an interesting little spin on it. But this is the thing. She said that about, obviously Gray got rid of Denise and Kim this week. So, but then Chelsea's sort of like, well, my parent, Denise isn't interested. My mum's not interested. You'd think she would be. But I kind of think, does she, and she was in a sort of, when she first came back, she was in a sort of abusive relationship with Caleb, wasn't she? She said that there was abuse in that relationship. So I don't know whether was it Caleb? It was, wasn't it? So I don't know whether she.
No, it was. I just remembering Caleb.
Caleb, the general. You'd think that you think that she'd maybe recognise a few of the signs, or is she aware what's going on, and she's sort of talking to Gray as though she is. Like, she's making him think that he's winning and that he's got everything that he wants in the relationship. I don't know. It's a scary position for her to be in, to be fair. Like, that's quite a dark situation for her to be, isn't it? Like, she's in a house, with a very stressed, who she now realises murdering boyfriend, who she's kind of aware could start kind of going for her at any moment. So that's not great for anyone's mental health, really, is it? That's quite a stressful environment to live in. So, and I did love the scene with Whitney. So, where do we go from here? Obviously, Jordan is going to be absolutely fine. 24 weeks early, fine, whatever. Walford Maternity Hospital. There's no other place like it. It's like Narnia. Everything can be killed with magic. Where do you think this is going? How long until Gray sort of realises that there is subterfuge going on in his house?
Yeah, I mean, it's going back to the question again, and I think all roads seem to lead to this, is how long are they going to take this going now?
Because effectively.
If it's a short-term story, then I think Chelsea is very aware of what's going on, or at least has an inkling of what's going on. I think you're right. Mm-hmm. I think that surely she's seen signs from the General Caleb in the past. I suppose if you've been in a relationship like that, you might be more prone to get yourself into a very similar relationship. Unknowingly, but this time it's very knowingly. She knows what Gray is up to. So I'm hoping she's able to see herself from the outside in and kind of work it out. I mean, she obviously needs that conversation with Whitney still as well. It was very, as we say, very short term. It was like, hi, Whitney. Yeah, we need to talk. Oh, and the water went on her face.
Yeah.
It's just mad. I'm praying anniversary week is the end of this story. Which means we've got
I can deal with it until then.
Wow, 6 more weeks. 6 more weeks of this.
I can deal with it until then.
So
and he won't be in it. Yeah. And it won't feature every single week over the next 6 weeks. But he'll get at least 1 week or so, maybe even 5 weeks.
Yeah. So if it's a
short
term,
look at this calendar.
If it's a short term
by the time we see Sonia and Dot on February, then we should be nearly done with the Grey storyline. We'll go for that.
Yeah. If anyone who's listening won't know that there's a calendar behind Rob right now of Dot Cotton. So if you are listening, jump onto YouTube and you'll be able to see it right now.
My other thing is, of course, Denise has been in an abusive relationship. So is she going to start recognising some of the signs in what's going on with Chelsea and Gray? Because obviously Gray now is going to keep trying to keep Denise away and trying to continue ostracising her from her family. So is Denise going to sort of recognise some of the signs and maybe sort of try and do something about that? Because Denise is no fool. She's quite intuitive to a lot of things, most of the time. So it'd be, I quite like the idea of Gray versus Denise, because Gray has got no chance versus Denise when she's on one. So, I don't know, but yeah, 5 weeks away, people. We can do this. We can do this. We've done it for the past 11 years, or however long this storyline's been going on for. So we can we can deal with it for another 5 weeks. It'll be absolutely fine.
I mean, I'd love for people to comment below or get in touch with us and let us know what they think could be the potential. How long do you think is going to be the end? Do you think this is going to go on for much longer? I think it's just a case of Whitney and Kirat being listened to and people actually acknowledging what they're saying. And unfortunately, Whitney had messed it up around Christmas time by trying it on with Gray, thinking that was the right tactic forward. And I think that's prolonged it as well. So if we're going to blame anyone, let's blame Whitney. Let's be honest.
Blame Whitney. It's always Whitney's fault.
There's blame is a claim, and Whitney's the one.
Yeah. Everything's Whitney's fault.
It certainly is. Anyway, I tell you what, I think this is the story that Rob has really been waiting for. So Phil went on a bit of a shenanigan this week. And as Rob told me just before the show, quite rightly, if it wasn't for this shenanigan, we wouldn't see the return of two
–
absolute icons, two stars of the show, two people who, quite honestly, deserve to have their own spin-off.
Their own show.
Oh my God, they should have their own spin-off.
They really should. Do you remember when the Lucy Beale storyline was at its height, and we had like actual scenes between and just between like Marsden, Keeble, and Ritchie, and it was kind of like, where is the spin-off? You're sending Kat and Alfie off to Ireland. No one cares. I want the spin-off between Marsden, Keeble, and Ritchie. It would be absolutely stunning. That was the days when Ritchie was revealed as a pole dancer. Do you remember? It was great. I miss those days.
Oh.
Yeah. So as you say,
she is it.
She's just. I screamed myself hoarse when. Anyway, we'll get to it. So yeah, obviously Phil has run away to the caravan park, as with Raymond.
Shenanigans.
He's in his balaclava. He's in his runaway balaclava, which Phil always wears without fail whenever he's on the run. You'd think that the police would probably recognise him in this balaclava. There's a man without even needing to know. We're looking for a guy in a balaclava. Just look for any guy, any balding guy in a balaclava, and you'll be absolutely fine. You've got him. You know, Sharon wears her white trainers.
It's like his Clark Kent. It's like if she wears glasses, it's not Superman. If he takes glasses off, it's Superman. If he puts the balaclava on, it's not Phil Mitchell. It off. It's like the way he came out of his caravan as well. I have to, I think her name is Soz Kemba.
Yes, I saw that. I did see that, yeah.
On Twitter. But it's literally, he came out of his caravan, the police were like, where's Phil? Where is this man we're looking for? Where is he? And he literally just took off his hat and was like, come in, boys. And it was like, there he is. That's him.
Ridiculous.
Like you say,
absolutely
they need to
ridiculous.
do a Photoshop of the thing with the hat on him if they're doing wanted photos for it. It's just mad. Just
ridiculous.
Nuts. Love it. Shenanigans.
Yes, and there was the fact that, Kat and Sharon eventually followed him down. I quite like the little interplay between Kat and Sharon, where they were sort of sniping at each other, and Kat was trying to make Sharon feel jealous by the fact that they'd clearly had sex in the seat in the car seat that Sharon was sitting in. Oh, don't worry, I went out with a wet wipe.
And the gear stick.
Do you know what? It doesn't surprise me.
I mean, what was Kat doing on the gear stick?
Doesn't surprise.
Or Phil, for that matter.
It doesn't surprise me with cats, though, because we know that Kat can be a bit of a kinky lady when she wants to be. So anything, God knows what happened in that car.
But Phil,
they eventually track Phil down into this caravan, and it turns out that Phil has gone and got these fake passports made. God knows how much that cost him. Yes. Phil obviously carries £10,000 around with him because he went to the States, so he's been carrying this 10k around.
Favour, Rob.
Pulled in a favour.
Of course,
also got Kat's.
Of course, it's a favour.
Yeah, he also got Kat's done. He was a favour, but he also got Kat's passport done on the off chance that she found him when he had made it explicitly clear that he didn't want her to follow him. But in case she did follow him, I've got a fake passport for you. But whatever. So you go down to the show. Eventually, she gets arrested, and he goes down to the police station, and we get the first return of Ritchie at last, because I thought Ritchie was in Ibiza, because they've made a big thing of whenever Phil's in trouble, Ritchie can't come. She's in Ibiza. Ritchie can't do that. She's in Ibiza. So Ritchie is back. Ritchie is back in. Yeah, she probably is. Ritchie is back in the country. Hurrah! We love Ritchie, and it's great to see her. Yeah, Ritchie isn't rating Phil's chances great, because she's kind of like, this, even I can't sort this out, Phil. You've got so much evidence against you. The best we can hope for, Phil, is that obviously they're going to send a DCI to deal with you. All we need to do is hope that we get lucky and it's a green, one of the green ones that doesn't really know what they're doing. And cue DCI Samantha Keeble. In she walks with the biggest smug expression on her face. She loves it. She walks in. She's having the best day. She's having the best day of her life. She strolls into the room, looks at Phil, looks at Ritchie, who looks as though her career has just ended because she knows she's in trouble now. And it seems that Keeble has been promoted. I'm not entirely sure how Keeble got promoted after the Lucy Beale case, however, because no policeman, if anything, every single police officer in Walford Police should have been demoted or sacked after the Lucy Beale saga, because none of them did a very good job at all. Sent two wrong people to prison and never really... She did. That's what got promoted. That's why she's in DCI
said that
now.
That was the reason for her promotion. Yeah. So she must have done an okay job. A good enough job in Walford Police is possibly a perfect job in Walford NHS Trust. So,
yes. But yeah. But it seems that I think we're in for a little bit of a saga with Keeble. She's back for a reason. Now, were you expecting to see Marsden as well? Do you think we'll see Marsden at some point, or do you reckon we're just going to have Keeble?
I think we're just being greedy if we're getting Marsden. If we get Marsden, then
I
it'll
don't
be
mind.
lovely. But I think we didn't expect...
It'll be lovely.
I know, nor would I. I wouldn't be unhappy. But I think we didn't expect Keeble to walk through that door. In fact, I half expected Callum to walk through that door, to be fair.
Or, yes, actually,
whatever.
to be fair, that's exactly what I thought. And it wouldn't have surprised me either. Oh, Callum's a DCI now, sure.
Yeah.
Wouldn't surprise
I've been in the police force
whatsoever.
for a year. He became a police officer in the matter of days, and then, now he's a detective sergeant. He'd be there.
Detective
He'd be the
Chief
head
Inspector.
of police in
Yeah,
no time.
sure. No, Cressida Dick, watch out, watch your back.
I mean, you could probably do a far better job, to be fair.
Anyway.
But Keeble, yeah, so great seeing Keeble, and I was surprised to see Keeble. So to see more icons,
it was a great surprise. Wasn't it?
I think it's being greedy. Yeah, it was a lovely surprise.
Yeah, it was a good. But it was a good surprise moment. I love those when someone just walks through the door, the last person we were expecting to see. They've kept it quiet, and there'll be some viewers who kind of they won't really kind of understand the significance of Keeble. Most people, I think, would remember it, but there were some viewers going, "Who's that? Why is Thingy from Footballers' Wives such a big moment?" Was Hazel from Footballers' Wives walking?
And Bad Girls.
That big a moment for Phil and Bad Girls, yes. Oh, I'm so excited. But yes, it seems we're in for a bit of a saga with Keeble because Phil's let out on bail. Whatever. If Keeble says it, then it is so. I'm fine. If Keeble's done it,
but she's doing it. She's got a plan.
She's doing it for a reason. Yeah, she has got a plan because Phil's walking across the square later, and Keeble is in her car watching Phil with a very smug expression on her face.
I love that moment so much. That moment when you looked in the rearview mirror or the wing mirror, and you just saw her, and like the Grinch, her smile just went.
Oh, I'm so excited.
It's brilliant.
I love this.
Absolutely brilliant.
I'm so excited.
Flipping loved it. Loved it.
Yes. I'm very excited. So, what do you think she's going to do? There's nothing. Let's be honest. Keeble can be a bent copper if she wants to. If it means bringing down Phil, Keeble will do whatever she wants. So, what do you think is going to happen? Where are we going with this?
I mean, let's be honest here. They need to find a way of writing Phil out of having his life sentence that he's getting a secret from Kat. So it's going to be that Keeble gets a little bit. She's going to keep following him and tracking him. He's going to, you can't find anything on me. I don't know why I'm bothering. And then eventually she'll get so frustrated that she's going to, like you say, she's going to do a bent copper thing.
Do something stupid. Get caught.
Do
and
something
ruin the whole
stupid,
case.
and then
right.
Exactly. The whole case will collapse, and then Phil Mitchell will be fine, and everything will stay the same.
If we expect that,
I'm hoping it won't be like that.
No, it will be like that, and that's fine though. But if we expect that, and if we because we know that Phil's not going to prison, right? We know that. We know Phil's not going to prison at any point, all right? Because Phil Mitchell just isn't ever going to go to prison for life. So if we just expect that, we know it's all going to go. We know it's all going to go wrong, and we just enjoy having Keeble, hopefully Ritchie around as well for them to spar with each other. So let's just enjoy that.
Yes.
Okay. Yes.
That's what I want to see. I want to see a scene in an interview room. In fact, I would happily have I suppose it would be a three-hander between Phil, Keeble, and Ritchie in the interview room. Just a 30-minute episode of them just fighting against each other. That, I wouldn't care that Phil got away with it. If I had that moment...
Oh, Alex, stop talking dirty to me. I would love that.
Filthy. Filth. Absolute filth.
We're not going to get
I mean. We might. You never know. There is more to this story later on, but we'll link it up to the story we're going to talk about now, which is the homophobic attack that happened outside the tube station this week. It's obviously two parts. The first part is Ash, Suki, and Honey and Eve. So Eve, Eve, Ash, Stacey, Ben, and Callum all go out for a night out to celebrate that Stacey has got the market inspector. The thing that we said last week was that there's at least more than two people went for the job. Come on.
No, they didn't.
Come on.
No, they didn't.
But no, Stacey
just
got the
Stacey
job.
and Martin. In the whole of East London, only two people went for that job, and one of them went to prison, and she got it.
I mean, it was a strange day to have the interviews, I suppose. You could argue New Year's Eve is a hard day to maybe get an interview in, but... Still.
Oh, Mr. Lister needs sacking immediately. He could join the police. Mr. Lister could join the police in Walford. That would be perfect for him. That seems like his level of competence. I think he'd be fine.
Anyway, Neil and his friends his right-wing friends left the tube, called them a very nasty term, which I'm not going to say on the podcast.
Beginning with Q.
And Eve kind of stepped forward, Yes, Eve kind of stepped forward and said, what did you say? Obviously, you can't get anyone to love you, so you're jealous of the love that we're expressing ourselves. And that was pretty much, that was it. And all the friends were basically attacked. They kicked Callum in the stomach, what seemed like 6 or 7 times. But we will talk about that a little bit later, because we're going to focus, first of all, on Ash, who got pushed and smashed her head on the side, on the corner of the pavement side, and then went to hospital. Got out of hospital, had a brain bleed, got out of hospital literally the next day after a scan.
Told you. Walford General.
But interestingly, Suki and Ash had quite a few moments together this week, and we learned a lot about Suki. It was nice. We learned a bit more when she had that conversation with Honey in the hospital this week.
I think that actually, to be fair, this week on a whole has been a case of going through a little bit of ridiculousness to get us to the sublime, hasn't it? And the Ash and Suki scenes, and then the Suki and Honey scenes, because obviously we've been back up to 30 minutes this week, and I really think that showed this week, because they were able to do some longer scenes, some really dialogue, character-filled scenes. We spoke about Suki and Honey, and we've talked so much about us trying to work out where Suki is coming from with Honey, what's going on with that, what her feelings actually are, and we sort of delved into it this week, where Suki basically said about what we've been wondering, as whether it was a case of Honey displayed a bit of kindness to her, and Suki didn't know how to deal with that, so she took it as an attraction. But then, as the conversation went on, it's sort of looking like we're actually going to go for a full-on sexuality struggle storyline with Suki. Is that where you got from this? It does seem that's where it's heading. There's quite a lot of internalized homophobia going on with her. Callum threatened to have her arrested because she was doing so, because she said hate speech to Ash. But the really annoying thing about this week was the fact that this is the most interesting Suki and Ash have been for a long time, because we know that there's the two of them have always had a difficult relationship. This obviously is a key component in it. Sort of Ash's bisexuality is quite a big part of that. And we had a lovely moment where they were talking and were kind of coming to blows about it all. There's a really nice moment where Ash handed the badge over and go, "All right then, you're that sorry, wear that, and show me that you're sorry." Loved all that. That was brilliant. But all of that was to lead into Ash's apparent exit. Oh, and also we should mention that Suki and Peter had a little thing together this week, which has also annoyed me, because that was a storyline that I was really looking forward to coming out, and it seems like they've just basically brought it back just to sort it out so that they could get rid of Ash, and that's not the way that storyline should have been dealt with, because they haven't spoken about it for a year, and now they brought it back. It seems they brought it back just to do that, which was unfair, because there was a bigger load of scenes wanting to happen from that, and we didn't really get them.
It was a loaded situation that they could have used a lot better. I think it could have been utilised in a much more powerful way than it actually ended up. It ended up just being a bit of a kind of like a wet reveal, didn't it? It was a bit like, Peter needed to come find his mobile phone, and then Ash and Kirat came in, and it was like, sorry, I slept with him, and that was it. So I agree with you. I think that they could have done so much more with that.
Yeah. Do you remember a couple of years back, there was a sort of as we'll call it a four-hander, but there was an episode with the Brannings, which is literally just the Brannings having a blazing row for half an hour. It was in the few weeks before Lauren and Abby left. Do you remember? And it was and the episode was basically just focused on the Brannings, and they were just having a row and yelling at each other, and it happened just before. Yeah, do you remember? The Panasars are made for an episode like that, aren't they? That would have been a great episode, kind of structure for an episode for them to have. And it's really irritating that Ash is left now. The thing is, they didn't really do a huge amount with Ash, which is annoying because, again, the relationships were all there. It's what we've said. Like, it's like they've given us the ingredients for a set of really good scenes, and then they sort of just take some key ingredients away without really exploring them. But, on the positive side, I thought Balvinda Sopal played an absolute blinder this week. I thought she was excellent. I am intrigued to see where this is going to go now. I'm interested to see where Ash's departure leaves the Panasars, because now basically Kirat and Vinny both hate Suki. And the week basically ended with Suki standing alone in her kitchen with her family having completely abandoned her. And she's struggling with her feelings about Honey or women in general. We got a little bit of an insight into her husband as well. If you remember, there was like a couple of lines
more about that. Please let them introduce him.
Oh, I know. Well, they need to now. They're getting rid of if they've sort of if Ash is gone. They sort of need to build up the Panasides again. It was kind of suggested that it was a bit of a loveless marriage, and it kind of it makes you wonder what kind of relationship they actually had. I mean, I wouldn't want to say it was necessarily an abusive relationship, but loveless relationships are fairly common, aren't they? The sort of person that just doesn't show his wife a huge amount of love, doesn't respect her, doesn't bother really treating her like a wife should be treated. And Suki has apparently sort of gone into real life like that and started treating everybody else like that. So when someone as sweet and kind as Honey comes along, that kind of messes things up in her head. So I'm looking forward to seeing where it goes.
I'm definitely looking forward to seeing more of what the Suki and Honey development between them. I mean, like you say, it explained a lot more this week about why Suki had done what she did with Honey. She still was adamant, I'm not gay, it's just that you were the first person to kind of show me any kind of love, any attention. I liked that, and I wanted to reciprocate it back to you by showing you how much I loved you too. What annoys me, something else we should mention, and it feels like I'm just saying it as a passing comment, but to be fair, the exit was a passing comment. Iqra left this week too. So we've lost two lesbian characters. A couple, essentially, when they first came onto the show. That's a really bad message to show one way. And I want you to discuss about, perhaps, you were saying about the, obviously, the terrorist week. Whether, again, was Ash and Iqra always destined to have died at the end of New Year's Eve? And so that's why their very rushed exit has happened now.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was changed, wasn't it? It had to have been changed. Like something, it's like they built it up, and then we still got two exits out of it. So it's kind of like, well, they may as well have done it. Like, let's be fair, Iqra, frankly, has survived longer than I thought she was going to, because Iqra has just been a non.
Though.
It is a shame, because I thought she was great, and she's just been a non-character basically since she entered. I've got to say, I'm annoyed with how the show's treated the character and the actress, because she didn't even get an on-screen exit. Her exit was essentially her saying to Bobs, "All right, I'm going to go home and pack," walking away, and the way that they filmed her walking away from Bobby was clearly the last scene we're going to get from her, because she was sort of looking around the square all thing as she walked away for a suitcase, and now she's gone away off screen, so we didn't even get to see her leave the square. I think that's an awful way to treat an actress who was clearly prepared to sort of stick around and say, right, it'll be my turn soon. I'll do what you want me to do, and never ever got given the material. Got given crumbs of storylines that should have been shown, like the FGM storyline. That should have been Iqra's key defining moment. All of it happened off screen. Abysmal. Not happy at all.
Oh no, I agree. And it's disgusting also that she had to be the one to tweet it to say that that was her last
Yeah,
thing.
they didn't even bother.
And not the official BBC at all. Yeah, and another thing that it confuses me is that you just said yourself, like, they seem to be able to write good stories for gay female characters, but they don't do that. Why don't they do that? Because let's be honest, Mila can't be long for this Walford Earth anymore. Mila must be leaving now soon.
Yeah, she's got the job at the Albert, but she moves to the square to be with Iqra. Iqra's now gone, so and we've got Mila and Keone. We haven't seen a single scene of Iqra, Mila, and Keone as a trio together, apart from maybe one scene where they were sat in the restaurant. We've not seen them at home. We've not seen how Keone has adjusted to life after her mum's been arrested. We haven't seen how Mila's adjusted to everything about her mum being arrested and everything that was going on with it. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. So there is no point to Mila anymore. Liked her. Thought she had a bit of spark to her, but clearly we're getting absolutely nothing to her. I don't know what the actresses did to annoy the executive producers when they arrived, but we've got absolutely nothing. Great shame. It reduces. I mean, Iqra again. It was a bit of a non-exit. Unfortunately, because of the way that the character's been treated for the entire time, it's not like Iqra's going to has got any reason to return, really, which is a shame. No. Ash, on the other hand, I feel she could return with maybe a slightly better story team behind her, and because the stuff that we left Ash and Suki on, that's begging to be explored again, isn't it? So I think we might see Ash again. Apparently, the door has been left wide open for Ash, so I'm pretty sure we'll see Ash again fairly soon.
It would have made perfect sense to have Ash and Suki be like Ash supporting Suki. Because there was that really kind of strange relationship between them, but they were building the bridges slowly but surely. And I know Suki says a really horrible derogatory term to her. What she said, it's wrong, isn't it? She said, it's unnatural. She said, what you do is unnatural.
Yeah.
I just think I would have thought Ash... I mean, Ash had a lot happen to her in a very short space of time. There was that kind of... She thought she was being racially profiled as well in the hospital. She's not getting her GP ship. So I suppose a lot of things happened at once. But yeah, I just think, like you, it's a shame. But at least we get to keep Callum. So Ben and Callum this week basically got... No, I'm going to say that... I was so hopeful for Ballon because at the end of the last year, things were beginning to change. We weren't jumping off and on that Ballon merry-go-round where we were constantly having a week of they fall out, they keep a secret from each other, they can't talk to each other. Then they get back together and everything's fine again. And I thought, we're finished. We're finally off of that. We're fine now. And it's happening again because Phil's getting his ducks in order and he went up to Ben and asked Ben if he could look after the chicken shops. And the many other businesses that he has around
we spoke about this. We spoke about the chicken shop thing off camera. Neither of us have a clue what he was talking about. Please, if you know what that line was about, please let us know in the comment section below because we were clueless.
But I'm guessing it's a cover for something else. Maybe a passport printing. There you go.
Was there a money laundering thing going on?
And money laundering.
Wasn't there a money laundering plot going on?
That's when Vinny was getting the gold bars and bits and pieces like that. So I think there was for a short time. So maybe that's the chicken shops. Maybe the money.
But I don't believe that's left the Mitchells with an entire empire of KFCs to look after them. I didn't understand that at all. No, hey.
Mitchell fried chicken. I don't know. Yeah. But there is an underlying factor here as well. Not just that Callum's very upset because Ben has decided he's going to take on the Mitchell Empire. Ben's also feeling a little bit vulnerable and a little bit distancing himself from the gay community. The gay community that he was so for when he kind of like encouraged Callum to come out. And yes. But after the attack, he's now beginning to feel a bit like he's distancing himself about, again, a bit like the old Ben was and didn't want to be known for it.
Well, yeah, I mean, this is the thing. In fairness to them, because they did. Now, I'm not immediately going to kick off about this. They did a little bit of an effect thing when Callum was being kicked on the ground. You know, the whole world went to slow motion, and we heard like echoes and all that kind of malarkey. It was like, right, okay. And to be fair, actually, I forgot completely that what he clearly was having at that moment was memories of what happened to Paul, which he also witnessed because he was there when that happened to Paul, wasn't he? So in fairness, I completely forgot about all that because I was literally watching it go, what are you doing the effects for again? And that was why. So that's why he's sort of become distant from it all, hasn't he? Because I think Ben is starting to... It scared him enough, I think. What we're at is he lost one boyfriend to a homophobic attack. As far as he's concerned, he's lost another boy. He nearly lost another boyfriend to a homophobic attack. So I think what's happening is that Ben is trying to stop himself being in that situation again. He's going to take on all of Phil's businesses. That's going to leave him far too busy to do anything as frivolous as go out with Callum, and hold his hand in the street. So what I'm assuming is happening from this is that Ben is now going to sort of almost develop a fear of being openly gay with his partner in public. You know, so and Callum obviously is kind of walking around quite unaware of everything. I did like when Ash turned around to him in the shop and was like, "Are you all right, Callum?" He was like, "Yeah, I'm fine. Yeah, fine, not a problem at all. Yeah, I'm fine. You're cool.
Yeah, stomach 12 times. Yeah,
yeah, grand. Yeah, policeman, goes for the job, mate. I'm all right."
It's funny you should say that. It's funny you should say that because there was a bit in the pub as well when Callum walked in when Phil's asking Ben about taking over. And I thought that conversation between Phil and Callum felt so strained between them. I thought they were all right together.
Do you know why, though?
Like, obviously they're not. Yeah.
Oh no, they are, but it's because there is still the mistrust of the fact that Callum's a policeman. And to be fair, I think what would have been going through Phil's head is, well, your colleague is about to send me down for life, so screw you.
True.
Because that's how Phil's mind works.
That's how his mind works.
I I'm still not over Rainbow Warrior Phil. I don't think I ever will be. Just, Phil saying things like, "Oh, shame about those idiots that kind of nearly killed you all." Even if it was a sort of weak sort of olive branch to give, it was like, it feels so weird to hear Phil sort of chastising homophobia. It's very odd. it's just odd. It doesn't suit him.
It was funny, actually, funny enough, that Aaron was kind of talking about it this week, and we've been championing Aaron as not being homophobic, but he was one of the first people to say, "Oh, everyone tries to politicize everything. If maybe they just upset them and they just beat them up." And I thought, "Oh, hang on, Aaron."
Now, obviously, the thing, I wonder if the whole right-wing thing now is basically just now going to be applied to hate crime as a whole. Did you hear the BBC announcer before the episode where the attack happened? Did you hear what the BBC announcer before? Where they kind of go, next on BBC One, EastEnders. The BBC announcer was kind of like, now on BBC One, Ben and Callum and Ash are attacked because they're gay. It was like Marcus Bentley has suddenly walked in and started narrating it. It was really heavy. I was like, all right.
Day 12 in Walford Square. Ben and Callum get attacked for being gay.
It's really heavy.
We get a different continuity announcer to you in Scotland. We get
do you?
Get that.
Oh,
yeah, we get BBC Scotland. We don't get BBC England. Sorry.
Anyone that was listening in England and heard that announcer, let me know in the comment section below. Wasn't she? Well, that was hard, wasn't it? She was heavy. Yes. Maybe the Scottish one might have had a light little tone to her voice. Oh, by the way, next on BBC One, lovely homophobic attack.
We do know next week, and I'm not going to say. I mean, it's common knowledge, but I won't say it in case people don't like watching the spoilers. But there's a return of another beloved character coming next week. Do you think they're going to straighten Ben out?
Literally, or
no, as in straighten his mind out, so he thinks. Yes. Yeah, no, not make him become straight.
Yes, that is that.
I doubt that she would do that.
that's some power. Well, yes, I mean that's presumably why that character is returning, and that is normally that character's role, isn't it? So we kind of know why that character is returning now, don't we? So. But I tell you what, character, Keeble, Ritchie, is it 2015 again? I'm so happy.
I mean, I would again happily have that character. We've been very good not saying the name. Not to return to the show permanently. Honestly, in fact, I'd have them both come back permanently.
So you wait till next week. We've got a campaign. No, we can't next week.
Well, no, it won't be next. No, we've got a special next.
Wait till the end of the show. Wait till the end of the show. We'll explain it.
Very, very final thing then is that Bobby's very suspicious of Aaron and he kind of asks Aaron a few questions because he's seen Aaron kind of talking to Neil on outside the cafe, kind of trying to put the clues together himself. Started delving into Aaron's bag and got caught by Aaron. Aaron got very violent toward Bobby,
very
and Dana
angry.
took Aaron's side on this. So the Monroe family seem to be getting stronger, and Dana seems to be going more toward her family now, which is making Bobby, I think, getting a bit worried and scared that she may be going into the
Monroes.
Into the wrong situation. The Monroes are great.
I love the Monroes. Again, this week, I've got to applaud the dialogue they keep giving Aaron, because it doesn't feel forced and it doesn't feel stereotyped or caricature-ish. Like a type of person that you'd expect to sort of, that they, the kind of dialogue they tend to give these types of characters normally, where it's almost like it can be a bit of a preach sometimes, can't it? But there was a really interesting moment this week where he was talking to Bobby, because obviously the whole square is now aware that there was an attempted right-wing extremist attack on the mosque. And the kind of rumour going around now is that the homophobic attack was by the same group. And Bobby and Aaron are talking about this, and Aaron tells a story about a guy that he went to school with, a black kid who he went to school with, who was attacked by a group of kids at school, and he says, people were kind of like, it's because he's black, it's kind of black. It wasn't because he was black, it's because he was a bit of a prat. And I thought that was a fascinating piece of dialogue, because again, it's the sort of thing that comes out of people's mouths. And what it's doing is Aaron is kind of giving the opinions of he's very rounded as a character already. He's coming out with things that aren't making him sound. What am I trying to say here? It's all very rounded, and he's not coming out with just like stuff that is easily identifiable as racist. He's almost trying to give an alternative look on it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, he's kind of circling around as something that could blatantly be seen as being a racist attack or homophobic attack, and then putting a spun perspective on it, as if to say, well, but actually, if you look at it from this perspective, so maybe he could have used, as a case of an example, perhaps he could have said like, oh, but Eve deliberately pushed someone, so we know that, so Eve put it upon herself. It wasn't that she was gay, it was, but we know that it was because first remark was made by Neil, but Aaron's kind of like twisting it and saying, well, but Eve retaliated and pushed it and pushed it and pushed it. So, you know,
brought it on themselves, sort of thing.
Not an attack for homophobia if she brought it on herself. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think having a character who is giving those sorts of debates to the audience is a fascinating thing, and it's not a debate. Obviously, we know what the character and the storyline.
No, we know what we've seen.
That's not what I'm saying, but yeah. But do you know what I mean? I think having a character who represents this sort of story, giving them that sort of dialogue is a great decision, and not just making them a sort of preacher. I'm the racist. You're supposed to hate me because I'm coming out with racist dialogue. Aren't I bad? It's really textured and layered dialogue, and honestly, I can't applaud it enough. It's doing really well. It's a shame the sort of the anticlimactic event of New Year's Eve, but it's all swimming around lovely. So hopefully it's going to go on for a bit longer.
I mean, I agree with you. I like the way that they write Aaron. I really do. He's believable. That's what it is. Comes down to for a new character. Yeah. Obviously, with a new character, you can kind of mold them and make them be who you want them to be. But he was introduced after his dad and his sister, so I think that it's a bit difficult to get someone into like that kind of unit, and they've successfully done it. Like, I love the fact that Harvey is trying to protect his son, even though inside he knows that really he should be reporting his son, but he doesn't want to kind of knock the ship off course because he sees that Dana and Aaron are getting closer together, something that they've obviously not been for a very long time. Whether Aaron's manipulating Harvey and doing it on purpose, I don't know. Whether Aaron is genuinely wanting to, maybe if there's a part of me that thinks that Aaron actually does want to kind of like fit back into the family, and he sees that as his out of getting out of the right wing group. But we know that's not going to happen because the right-wing group, once they got their claws in you, there's so difficult to escape it. And the only way Aaron's going to escape it, I think, is by admitting to not only his family, but to everyone that he has been involved in these awful attacks in the past. Like, don't forget, he beat someone up. He came home with the bloody knuckles and the bloody shirt that Harvey found, and Harvey hid for him. Harvey's actively trying to hide, and from not only from the police, but possibly for his own conscience, that Aaron is this really bad person. But I love it. The Munro family for me is the jewel in the crown of the show at the moment. I'm loving.
Yeah, absolutely. Is Aaron redeemable? Like, do you think? Do you reckon that's the path they're gonna try and go down eventually? As in, they're gonna try and show how you get somebody who is involved in these groups out of them and try and put them on the right path to society? Or do you think Aaron is a shelf life character?
For me, I think he needs to be redeemable because it would be a good story to tell, and it would be something that people could watch it, or at least hear about it on social media, and hear that they've done this storyline where someone was deep in this awful group, and then, you know, it's a bit like, it reminds me a little bit of Tiff when she got herself into that drug clientele gang, and she saw Jagger. And she saw what happened to Jagger, because first of all, Jagger was all like poised and kind of like swang, you know, really cool. My baby, what was it, my girl, or whatever he used to say. And my wifey.
Wifey, that was it. My wifey.
He was really confident. That's it. He was really confident. But then you saw how through years and years and years and years, well, not years, but through months and months and months of like working in this drug clientele, that he just wound him down, and he looked like half the man he was. He was drawn and he looked ill, and that scared Tiff out to trying to get herself out of it. And luckily she had Jack, who was able to do that for her. And I think that was important to show that for a young person. I think it's important to show it for someone who gets himself so embroiled in such a horrible hate group, how they get themselves out of it. So I want him to be redeemable. I don't think he should be unpunished, though. I think he should at least be in prison, say, for 3, 4, 5 months. for conspiracy to
and then return.
bomb a mosque or something like that, and then come back, and then you can see like bits and pieces for like what could come about. So really excited for the story, and I love that Bobby's involved too, because oh my goodness, I love Bobby as well. I love that Bobby's involved. It just makes it better. Oh, he's great. He's absolutely great. Love him.
I think all in all, a fairly good week, wasn't it? I think it was quite a relatively strong week. Some good some amazing returns, some strong storylines. Even the Grey stuff wasn't that hateful this week in the grand scheme of things. I'll moan about it whenever it appears, but on the whole, it was all right. It was all right. There was nice stuff to be pulled from it. So there we go. Yeah, an all right week. What did you think of the week? You will, I'm surely, let us know in the comment section below, and we shall now be reading some of your comments on I Ain't Want to Gossip.
You know me, I ain't want to gossip.
So this is the part of the show where we read out your comments that you sent to us on our Twitter, our Instagram, our Facebook group, or commented below on our YouTube video if you're watching it. All the details will be at the end of the show from Rob. First of all then, on our Twitter, at @wasp_1971 had commented on something that we spotted this week, which was Grey's look in the cafe when Kathy mentioned that they were looking around the argy-bargy for clues for the right-wing supremacists. And we were wondering, is there a Tina being hidden there?
I missed this entirely. But so what? I mean, yeah, I think maybe I was looking at my phone or something. So what? Kathy said that, and what? Grey looked all shifty. Was that? And it was just a random shot at Grey, and then back to Kathy again.
Yeah, he looked worried.
So a deliberate shot, shot of Grey. Ooh.
It was a very deliberate
interesting.
Shot. So we wondered if Tina might be there. As did @wasp_1971, who said, if there is something, I'd say he buried her body there. When it's found, the post-mortem would reveal she'd been dead for over a year, which would mean Shirley would know Grey lied about seeing Tina a few months back. Either way, this means the plot may end.
I mean, please, may I compliment what's his name? What did you say the name of
Wasp 1971.
Please may I compliment Wasp 1971 on his optimism that the post-mortem people of EastEnders are doing as good a job as anybody else, because they didn't spot anything on Chantel. So if you think they're going to realise that the whole thing's going to come out, but that's an interesting theory. I didn't catch the grey look at all. Was it a little bit of a sort of Denny's phone going off in Sharon's hand moment? That were, one of those little sort of...
Well, no, because that was done without any kind of... Yeah, I mean, it wasn't a blink and you'll miss it, though. I'm surprised you didn't spot it. It was like...
I blinked. And I missed
Kathy,
it.
And you missed it.
Yeah.
Kathy said that they were investigating around the argy-bargy for clues and bits and pieces like that. And Grey just looked a bit worried for a moment. Like he knew something was there. And it, obviously, I don't think he has any kind of link. I hope he has no link with the Munro story. Christ, please don't let him have any link with the Munro story. But Tina, we know that he drove away with Tina wrapped up.
Yeah.
Oh, please don't. Wrapped up in a Subway sandwich wrapper. So
yes,
I'm hoping she's alive in the argy-bargy, but I don't suppose that would be the case. But they might find a dead body in the argy-bargy. So.
There's not really any logic to her being alive in the argy-bargy, because Neil just sort of walking out. Oh, hi, I don't know who you are. Can you hold this bomb, please? And it will go off at New Year's Eve. Thanks very much. She probably would have been discovered in there by then, wouldn't she? So, unless she's tied up in a basement somewhere.
But then that's just made me realise that kind of then completely destroys our thoughts that their bomb was meant to go off in the argy-bargy, because if then that was the case, unless they've done a very quick rewrite and they thought to themselves, oh, actually, that would be a good place to put Tina, then Tina would have blown up with... Unless they had Tina blow up and you just saw this... Boo! And you didn't get the thrown turkey, but you got the thrown turkey Subway sandwich that is Tina across the square.
We solved it. There you go. We have solved it. Geniuses. Absolute geniuses.
I mean,
maybe.
It writes itself, this stuff.
Maybe. Interesting. I'll look out for
and
that.
One more tweet from @LazyAWOL has said, I'm not convinced that most doctors would recommend spontaneously uprooting your life and moving away from your family a couple of days after brain surgery. Now, this is obviously linking to Ash, and we've already talked at the top of the show about the... kind of the NHS trust being miracle workers. All they have to do is go over someone's head and it's healed within days.
Mm-hmm.
I mean...
She had brain surgery.
Why is there...
She had a CAT scan,
I'm not sure, but she had to have something...
I don't...
She had a CAT scan.
She had a scan.
I'm sure.
I don't know. I thought she was just sort of knocked out, had a cut on her head. I mean, look at Phil. Phil has had all sorts of.
Oh, yes.
I mean, I quite like the idea of Ashable people inheriting Phil's steel head. I quite like. But
hey, I'll tell you what.
It was...
I've just had an idea.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't we do for the listeners or the viewers on YouTube of the show, a Martin Fowler's 5 a day spontaneous? Name 5 objects that was hit round the back of Phil's head. There you go.
That's a great idea. Get your answers into us by you've got right. Should we explain what's happening next week then? Because basically what's happening next week. We're not going to tell you exactly what you're getting next week, but I'm going away. And Alex is also off, so we're having a week off next week. However, we are not leaving you in the lurch completely. You will have a video to watch next week, which will hopefully be a nice little surprise to come up. So you can enjoy that next week. But yes, you won't have your typical week's recap next week. But there will be something for you. So we hope you enjoy that. And please do feel free to let us know. That's an excellent idea. I like that game. 5 objects. 5 objects that have struck Phil Mitchell on the head that he's invariably survived. And you can let us know your answers and any other comments you have by contacting us on Twitter and Instagram at Walford Weekly. You can find us on Facebook at Walford Weekly Podcast. On YouTube, don't forget to like, subscribe, click the bell to get notifications about our spoiler videos. And you can listen to us on Apple, Podbean, Spotify, or any of your favourite podcast sites. You can email us at robwalfordweekly@gmail.com or alexwalfordweekly@gmail.com. There we go. There was a link. So, like I said, so there will be a video next week, but not the podcast episode. But we will be back in podcast form.
It's not just a video, so
yes.
you can listen to.
Oh no, it's video and a podcast.
Well. So it's everything, encompassed in everything. But yeah, look forward to that.
Yes, but we will be back in this form on recapping the week in the Saturday afterwards. But you will get a video of some forms and podcast of some forms next week. So until then, it is goodbye from me.
Oh my goodness, goodbye from me. I think we better go, Rob.
Bye.
See ya.